Welcome to the first episode of the djproject Criterion Collection, where I go through all 150 Criterion DVDs that I own. Also, each episode will be presented in spine order, so I'm going to go through all of them in spine number order. So, the first episode actually is spine number 1, Grande Illusion, directed by Jean Renoir, 1938. Let's see, I first saw this, I think like around 2004 or 2005 or so, and I got it because, I watched it because it's Jean Renoir. Jean Renoir is one of the early great cinema masters, along with D.W. Griffith, even Alfred Hitchcock at that time, and Fritz Lang and Carl Theodor Dreyer and so on. So Renoir is one of the key filmmakers that helped give some sophistication to cinema, and certainly a lot of filmmakers after him owe plenty to Renoir, from Orson Welles to even more recently Wes Anderson. So when I got this, when I first saw it, I was impressed by the humanism of it, and that it was the story is it takes place during World War I, and a pair of French pilots, they were shot down and they crashed in behind enemy lines, and so they were taken in as German prisoners. And it's basically their story of being prisoners, including this one camp they were at where they try to escape and ended up not working, and then moving around to various camps, and eventually they do succeed in escaping, and they managed to get near the Switzerland border, and they successfully cross into that it's assumed that it's near the end of World War I. But what I'm impressed with it was the humanism of it, and that this was, while it was definitely embodies a real war, it also tries to show a bit of the complexities of war, that, you know, we tend to think in black and white terms with war, and this says that no, there's actually some shades of gray here. Who we think of as the enemy is not entirely the enemy. It's not clearly one group is all good and another group is all bad. And this is coming from someone, and I'm speaking about Renoir. He was a very strong humanist. He was socialist in a lot of his views, but he didn't take the easy caricature out. And this is one film where he could have easily done that, but he avoided that. And what I mean is that at one point there are these encounters with one of the officers. Actually, the two officers that get shut down. One is more upper class, and another is more lower middle class. But he has this. He sees this. There's a German equivalent of as far as upper class. In fact, the last camp that they're at was at his fortress, and this is played by Erich von Stroheim, the German aristocrat, and he's portrayed as very. I mean, it's very easy. You could have very easily made him into a caricature about not only the evils of being German, but also the evils of being rich. But there's actually a warmth and a sympathy to him, and so, you know, and every character is given their due, and you see both the charms and the flaws, and this is something that I mean, I think for now we take it for granted because a lot of films that have come out now have a certain sophistication in terms of the story and the characterizations. But given that this was 1938, especially given that it was 25 years since the start of World War I, and it was in the looming shadow of another global conflict was well underway at that point. It's amazing to see something that warm and humanistic and a bit more sophisticated in its characterizations. So I definitely admire that. All of that said, as much as I liked it, I didn't jump at getting this right away. The only reason why I did jump at this is because back in 2011, I believe, a whole bunch of titles on the Criterion Collections that were licensed by Studio Canal, their licenses had expired and it was not going to be renewed. So this put a lot of Criterions out of print. And there was a period of about a couple of months where I had to very quickly first off, prioritize the titles that I wanted that it was going to be out of print, and quickly figure out which ones I want to get right away because I probably wouldn't get the chance to do so. And Grande Illusion, unfortunately, is one of those titles, so I snatched it at the last minute. So what does that tell you about how it means to me personally? I mean, and is this worth it? I would say definitely give it a spin. Definitely track it down and watch it. It's Renoir. I admittedly haven't seen that much of Renoir. The only other Renoir film that I've seen of his is The Rules of the Game, and that one is still in print. In fact, it got reissued last year, also on Blu-ray, and that's a good film in its own right. But definitely check out Grande Illusion, especially if you have an affinity for war films, and especially if you want to see more the human side of war. Because this is not although it's set in a war, it's not really about war explicitly. Not like say Full Metal Jacket or Paths of Glory or any of those films. It's not that kind of war film. It's definitely much more about the human nature in relation to war. What happens to a human being when he's in war? Does he? And I think even more profoundly, is it possible to retain your humanity? Is it possible to exercise civility and to aspire to a higher virtue when you're in a state of war? It also shows that you can still be a jerk in the midst of war. So I definitely would recommend it. The film itself, as far as like a little history, like I said, it came out in 1938, and as soon as it came out, like I said, the shadow of World War II was just around the corner, and Goebbels hated the film. In fact, he wanted his I'm not sure if he. I think it's appropriate to go so far as to say it was his personal mission. If Germany ever invaded France and was able to subsume it under its Reich, it will, that film is going to immediately be targeted. And in fact, because of that, there was the original negative had to be smuggled out, and there was and actually it was assumed that it was destroyed, that the Germans had captured it and it was destroyed. And in the 1950s, there was a not the original negative, but a original or close to original print of it made, and then that was the basis of some of the initial home video releases. But then it was discovered. Then the actual original negative was discovered in 1999, I think, or 2000. And actually, it was because of this discovery that Criterion held off on its release. Even though it has the spine number 1, it actually was not the first one to be. It was not the first DVD to be released. It was actually released much later. I think it was finally released. It was scheduled to be released in 1998. It finally was released, I think, in late 1999, maybe early 2000. So very late in the game. In fact, this is why, if you'll see this as I show off these DVDs, as you can see, it has this banner design, which was the case for the Criterion DVD releases from Spine 51 to about, I think it stopped at 340, I think, or somewhere around there. But from like 1999 up until 2005, 2006, it had this design, and it was because, and that shows you how late in the release it was. I still have a few old school. Actually, at this point, I only have two. No, I have three. I have three old school Criterion DVD. The first, and you'll see and you probably know. You're probably watching this as a fan of Criterion Collection, so you know how all the packages are and such. But anyway, so but yeah, I would say that I would recommend it. Especially if you like war films, if you want to see more of the human side of it, and to see a work of a cinematic master. I mean, like I said, I think The Rules of the Game is a more interesting film, probably because it's a little bit more cynical, whereas this one has a bit more hope to it. You know, even with the potential ugliness of human beings, it's still possible to be humane. So it's a little bit more affirming in that way, but it's not schmaltzy at all. I don't want to give the impression that it's overtly sentimental or overtly schmaltzy. I think it has a nice balance of elements, and that and the character sophistication, and that it was made in 1938 is something to behold. So yeah, I would definitely check it out. So yeah, that's the first Criterion, The Grande Illusion. So until next time, take care.